Good morning. Welcome back to the podcast, Evil Dungeon Master Universe Podcast. I am your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and we are back with another edition of the podcast. Tuesday. Yeah, I know, I paused because it's dramatic effect of Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. TheEvilDM.com is my website, and you can go there, get everything I'm doing, including write-ups I'm doing right now of Mini 6 for the Green Lantern ring, which has kind of been interesting trying to figure out how to stat that in such a limited type system like Mini 6. If you're not familiar with it, it is made by Anti-Paladin Games. You can go to their website and get the Mini 6, or you can go to DriveThruRPG and get it for free, the PDF, or you can purchase it for, I think, for like $5 or $10, a print copy sent to you. It's like 30-something pages, and it's like the most minimal D6 system you can actually play if you're into playing like the old West End games, D6 systems. I like it for the simple fact it's straightforward and it's simple, and it leaves a lot of room to make up whatever you want. So I've been trying to take what we have for the system itself, which it only boils down to about 13 pages after all the like monsters and examples and campaign settings, that I'm trying to do the Green Lantern ring just to see. It's more of just an exercise of being a DM. Which leads me into another topic of today of when you start a brand new campaign, we'll say in D&D or your favorite game, whatever it may be, do you like to start creating stuff from scratch, or do you only use what's in the book? Now, I mean by scratch is like I'm doing an exercise right now on my channel, on my website, of taking Mini 6 and trying to create something that the book was not really intended for. Now, I've been doing this since I was a child. When I first started playing D&D, was always just create whatever I can, look at other examples, and make things up. That's how I've always done it when I've played D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, whatever other game we're playing. I always like to create things. Whether it be an outrageous magic item or a weird looking monster from me sitting in the computer lab when I was a kid, statting up the Terminator because my friend did the Predator. So I always like to sit down and create things from scratch and have fun with it. I'm just curious, what do you do? Do you like creating things from scratch? What is your process? How do you handle it? Uh, like I said, I like to sit down, and the first thing I like to do is create things from scratch. I hate using pre-made stuff as far as campaign modules and worlds established. Like when we played AD&D, I used Greyhawk as the basis of the world, but it really wasn't Greyhawk because I didn't really use anything from Greyhawk other than maybe what was in the player's handbook and the DM's guide, if anything. But most of the worlds I drew the maps by myself. We were always in the kingdoms I made by myself. The the um the deities were always things I made up. Though when we got books like deities and demigods, sometimes I would have players that picked gods out of that when they were playing a cleric, which I didn't mind. I figured overall these deities would be in the world anyway, but I like sitting with players and creating a deity for them, or at least someone that they can get their magical ability from. So even when we played Marvel superheroes at RollHigherDie.com, we did the whole series with villains. I made a whole cinematic universe up, made my own Earth up, decided it was on its own Earth plane, and did my own thing. It's a lot of fun when you take things from this point or that point and just create it on your own. Now, I know a lot of people don't have all the time in the world to do that, and maybe it's because of work or whatever they're doing. I completely understand, and they don't want to have to sit there and do that, so they like pre made modules or a pre made setting that they could just take, read up on what they need to read up, and then create their adventure. I don't like that at all. Maybe it's because the way my brain works. I'm a very reactionary type GM. I've been saying that for quite some time. Even in podcasts for years, I've been saying I'm a reactionary GM. I present a situation, I let the players move the way they want to move, and then I react from that situation and present other situations. I don't like railroading players into doing what they shouldn't be doing. It's also no fun for a player, too, when you do that to them. So I like to present, let them pick what they want to pick, and then move forward from there. And if it happens to be something I'm not prepared with, I usually just roll with it. I guess that's whole all part of a brain that's able to think way too fast. I don't know what they would really call it because I can react to things pretty quickly when it comes to a game or when it comes to things like podcasts or things like that. I just be able to snap right into it. I guess it's all the years of being on radio and having to be on the ball, things like that. I don't know. But I like to create, I like to present, and I like when people have a good time. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Also, I wanted to know what you thought about you're sitting there and you're watching a TV show or you're reading a book or you watched a movie and you have a great idea for a game. Do you immediately implement it into your game or do you sit there and write it out on a piece of paper, figuring out a way to place it inside your game? I know I've watched plenty of TV shows and movies, and I've jotted down general ideas while I'm watching it or right after I'm done watching it, depending if I'm in the movie theater or not. And I try to figure out a way to implement it into my game. So my process would be to write down that thought, just a one line thought, so I remember what it is inside of a note in my phone, or if I have my little notepad with me that I keep in my back pocket with a pen, I'll put it on there, and time later on, I will take it out and put it on a Word in a Word document and figure out ways to describe it in whatever game I'm playing. So if I'm playing D&D, I want to take that information and see how I can put it into the campaign. So if I found an idea about there was an event I was watching Supernatural one day. It was on Pluto, and I had jotted down an idea for where is that idea about them going to um, a house to find a vampire nest. And I was just like, okay, so how can I implement that inside my fantasy campaign? So maybe there are vampires that are in the next village and they are hidden somewhere under the village. And because, vampires can't be out during the day, regardless of what game system it is, and they don't sparkle and weird things like that. But the vampires are in the next village and they're hidden inside, let's say, the elder's house underneath, maybe in his so-called quote unquote basement because they made it so they can go down there and hide. And one of the elders is a ghoul that is being controlled by them. So he does whatever they tell him to do. And the players have to go there and figure out what is wrong with this village. Now, the village is slowly being taken over by ghouls. Each person is becoming a ghoul slowly, and the players have to figure this out with their characters by visiting the village and getting telltale signs of it. Now, obviously, it's hard to figure out the signs, so this is where the skills come in for demon lore and things like that, depending on what your fantasy campaign is about. So once they get there, then they have to figure out where the vampires are, and then maybe we can have them have conversations with some of the villagers, and maybe one of the villagers might slip, things like that. That's how I would go through the thought process. I'd also I use AI chats a lot as well. I will just take the one line sentence I do and say, here is an idea that I have for a D&D fantasy campaign. List me out 5 to 6 ideas of how I could use this in my campaign, and I list out my sentence, and it'll give me bullet points of 5 to 6 ideas that I can use. I will take one of those ideas, write it down, and then work from there. So don't knock AI until you tried it, at least. I know a lot of people don't like using it because it's not fair and it's not great. It's keeps your imagination really low. No, I think it's actually a great tool to use, especially if you're in a bind. Descriptions, things like that, it works perfectly. So I have no problem with using it. So tell me what you think when you do that process. I want to know how you do your process. Anyway, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless, and talk to you later, folks.